out on the East
Yeah.
Coast. Well, you got East Coast out there. I guess I don't know exactly where you guys are
I'm
Yeah,
in New
East
York.
calling from.
Coast. East Coast. Nothing going on in CT with any professional teams. You know,
Yeah.
we're unfortunate.
All the cool people are out where you are, bro.
Man,
Canada and places like that.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, we were in Rhode Island for 5 years or so, and then made the move out west.
Oh,
Well, yeah.
oh, really? Rhode Island, huh?
Yep,
That's about like
we
half
were
hour from you.
yeah, we were
Yeah.
just right there, just north of you. Yep.
Oh,
Near New York City.
nice,
Yeah. That
nice.
is nice.
I'm near the casinos over here. Um, yeah. So listen, it was good to have you on here, man. We good to have another entrepreneur on here. You know what I mean? We're here to talk about you being an entrepreneur and this no till organic thing going on.
You're amazing.
And we also appreciate
I
you being an
appreciate it.
advocate for home growers. You know what I mean? We love people like you. We need more like you. You know?
No,
Absolutely.
100%. You know, and it's something I think now is good to start having a conversation now about home growers kind of banding together to make sure we can always have that right to grow at home. You know, and there's even
Absolutely.
a lot of medical states now that are people are able to go to a dispensary and buy from an MSO, multi-million-dollar company, but they're not allowed to grow a plant for themselves at home. So it's very, very well,
Irritating.
yeah, it's extremely frustrating, especially for people that've been at it for the gray market, we'll call it, days, and trying to go into the legal side of things, and it's make it so difficult to try to do the right thing that it's just doesn't leave people with many options.
Yeah, they say it's
There's
legal, but it's really like not.
yeah, exactly,
It's
yeah, it's just
controlled,
Your
if it's
but
so
yeah, it's controlled.
yeah, it's so and it's like whenever we came out and bought some land up in the county just north of us to do an OLCC, which is our Oregon's recreational market, to do an OLCC grow. And we had my family, we moved from all over the country and decided to make a go at it. And we put money in and took out loans and bought some land, and we're going to bootstrap farm our ways up. And our plan was to do an outdoor season and use that to pay for a building that we would work on over winter, do another outdoor season, which would pay for our lights. And we didn't have investors. We didn't have a bunch of money saved up to do it. We basically had enough to get into the land and get started on some basic things there, and then just like build as we go. And the way they changed the laws basically made it where if you wanted to apply for your license, you had to have your facility 100% turnkey ready to go with a 30-day notice. So before it was like basically they were called caseworkers. So whoever from the state is going to be inspecting your facility, they like reach out to you, let you know, it's like, hey, we need to get an inspection done. They come out, they tell you what you need to fix,
Oh,
take care of this stuff. They take care of this stuff. Call me when you got it ready. We'll come do the inspection again. And very kind of user friendly for the people applying for it. They switched that 180 degree because they couldn't legally just flat out decline licenses. So they made it where now it's where your caseworker calls you and says, I'll be there in 30 days to inspect your facility, pass or fail. If you fail, not only does you can't apply again, but not only can you not apply, no other business can ever apply at that physical address again. So they just shut it down. And so for us, that would have meant building our building with all the security, lights, all the HVAC, basically ready to put plants in. That's hundreds and thousands of dollars that we
absolutely.
were planning on being able to pay out as we go. Like building a small business, like most people are able to do. So you start a lawn care company, you can get away with a push mower and work your way up until you got 20 riding mowers. You don't have to
Right,
buy
Right.
20
right,
riding mowers to start your lawn care business.
right,
And
Right.
it's like,
right. Yeah,
and like you said, it's legal. Sure, you can go start a lawnmower business. Anybody, all you got to do is go out and buy 20 riding lawnmowers.
right,
So anybody can do it if they want to. It's like, well, theoretically, yes, but it's like so cost prohibitive that it's only a very small population of that's going to be able to dive right in and put up these millions of dollars, and like it's not, and then take a loss for 2 years on that millions of
right,
dollars up front. So
Is there
right.
a reason why you can't apply to get it again? Why would they do that?
just because the overproduction, like just the overproduction of flour. So they were, like I think it was the last year they had the numbers, basically grew like 20 times the amount of flour that was purchased in the state. So these farms are, growing. They have warehouses full of unsold product that they're having to burn at the end of the season to make room for their new harvest. So, and they were, because of the overproduction, the logic they used was to, since all this is being overproduced, it's probably being sold out of state, illegally moved out of state. So they wanted to try to didn't want to give any more license out, no more production necessary, in their eyes, which is just, allowing that monopoly to further like funnel its control down. And fewer and fewer businesses are producing flour. The consumer has fewer and fewer choices at the end of the day. And so instead of, they have these massive, I'm sure you've seen the pictures that, they have 100,000 square feet plus canopies outside. It's a couple acres, that's nothing. 10 acres, 100 acres of flowers.
Right.
That's they can afford to sell for $100 a pound for their flour, and as they drive all their competition out of business, and so you're left with, that's the only choice you have, because that's what ends up in all the dispensaries, because they're the only ones still in business.
Right.
So it's frustrating, because like you got to pay to play, just like anything else. It takes money to make money, and the more money is at stake, like in this industry, the billions of dollars that the states are making on the legal market, that's a lot of money. And people don't have, I think, a real understanding of how bad people want to keep that to themselves. They don't want everybody to have access to it. The more they make for themselves, obviously, that's how they get to that point in the first place. So. Instead of having one farm in Southern Oregon owned by a Canadian corporation, basically. Well, just for example, there's like one farm in particular, they have like 100,000 square feet, which is just a couple acres, like 2.5 acres. So it's not even a huge farm, but just think, one out of state corporation owns 100,000 square feet of canopy, instead of splitting that up into like 100 families that can grow that in their 100 square feet, and they have 100 square feet in their basement, and give 100 of those licenses out instead of the one license to the big company. And still the canopy stays the same, it just redistributes that access to who's able to grow it. And I think it's hard to complain, because started growing in the 90s, and where I am now, like being able to sleep peacefully at night, not worried about people reading the electric meter and seeing, so it is nice, it's nice, but there's just still so much. We can't be complacent with like, give us a little bit and expect us to be happy for just like, oh, well, you should be thankful you can grow or have access to it all. It's like, well, okay, I am thankful, but there's a lot of work to be done yet to make it good and fair and equal, and that people have access to. And at the end of the day, especially like coming from the medical side of it, is like there are people who just want to smoke down at the end of the day after they get off work and hit the couch, and that's awesome. You should have the ability to do that. You can go buy beer. You can go buy beer and do whatever you want. You should be able to relax. But there's also like a legitimate segment of the population that uses cannabis medicinally, and there's like you can't argue against the effects once you see it for yourself, especially all the documentation studies been doing on seizures, and just pain management, muscle spasms. There's a lot of real practical applications for it, and a lot of times in the commercial market, especially, it gets so like glamorized and hyped and shiny and flashy and sales, that we really forget that there's people who need like good, high quality, diverse terpene profile cannabis for medicinal purposes. And that has been basically forgotten. That's back burner now. It's not important. And that's like, that's what made us able to get to this point, is like the patients that were like fighting tooth and nail for their right to have access to this medicine that they used to improve their quality of life. That's been completely just bulldozed by the corporate machine, and now it's just like this huge money making. That's the only aspect.
Right, and it's coming from Wall Street and investors, you know what I mean, they push harder for these companies to make more and produce more, you know.
They like on their,
But,
No,
but
that's it. Once it starts becoming about making money, everything else can be compromised.
right,
You know, you're willing to
right,
compromise the quality of the product to increase the profit margin.
that's right.
That's business 101. You know, that's
right,
just you know,
right.
Most especially I've
But
gotten cannabis from, it's
this seems more difficult than most things, you know what I mean? Because it can be grown, um, you know, in the closet, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
not like a lot of other things that can be controlled more so that, would need more room and, different type of atmosphere, you know what I'm saying? But this
mhm.
cannabis plant is definitely a defiant thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only going to, because the home growers, you believe, is like the heart and soul of all of this, you know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
Yeah.
So it's only
100%.
going to aggravate the situation and get even more dangerous trying to drive customers to their product. You understand what I
Oh,
mean?
definitely.
um
That's
because
trash.
it's only happened to every product we've ever wanted them all the time. They always tamper with that product and not thinking about the future of our health. You know what I mean?
We have to write.
100%. Yeah. No, 100%. And it's everybody knows that, and I think that's what goes back to, like, it's more important than ever that everybody comes together and says that
Mm-hmm.
in a public scene and demand some rights to be, established at a federal level, because it's all the states are all bickering back and forth.
Yeah.
And you think these corporations don't have, paying millions of dollars to lobbyists in Washington D.C. trying to have home grower rights stripped right now? It's like
Right,
it's
right,
happening right
right,
now, whether we want to, like, participate in
right,
it or not.
right,
And like,
right,
I think that's what's so gross to a lot of people, is because most people, you think about having to do that, and it's like makes my skin crawl. Like,
right,
I don't want to play that game
Scary.
to have you tell me that like what I feel like my inalienable human rights, you have to approve that, and I have to, like, beg and simper to you to pass these laws. Like,
No.
it's so backwards, and I think that it's so gross to a lot of people. They don't want to get involved, but it's like the other guys they have no issue. They're
right,
trying to shut it down, and
right,
especially
right,
like all the organic growers. And
right,
they
Yeah.
just
right,
passed some testing laws here recently that they thankfully were overturned, because they were, like, just specifically targeted organic production, basically
Yeah.
to make
right,
growing organic cannabis illegal in the recreational market here. And
right,
it's just
right,
man,
That's
right.
your go, Mark. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tom.
Your frustrations, they don't just stop there. I can see. I read in one of your posts that you had to take down 30 educational videos. Is that
yeah.
accurate? How are you dealing with this? I see your frustration with
Oh,
Instagram. How are
oh
you
yeah.
coping? And I love
Yeah,
how you speak out on
yeah,
it.
I took down probably like 150 or so posts and videos and everything total, just to get it back on all green lights on the Instagram board. So yeah, yeah, it's incredibly frustrating, especially when you see these bigger
Yeah.
brands that are just blatantly promoting the sale of flower, nothing else. Like, there's no educational value, there's no community engagement, there's not, and
Right,
they operate without worry of getting shut down.
No,
And I
no.
think, yeah, and it's like I've never, like, I'm just now trying to get into, like, selling some seeds and cuttings and kind of monetizing this a little bit, but online, and still have not ever offered anything for sale. So it's
right,
and it's
right,
frustrating. You could get targeted for like sale of illegal goods because you're
Yeah.
talking
right,
about how to make a ferment with
right,
yard waste. It's like, man, that's just
right,
to make it make sense. Just
right,
it's not.
right,
It's like
right.
There's
That's
no.
they're getting worse and worse too, dude. They're like
right.
getting more and more ridiculous with anything you post
Yeah.
nowadays. So I want to talk about some of your liquid ferments, man. If we can,
Yeah,
if we
yeah. Go
can.
ahead. Let's jump.
Yeah.
Let's
Oh, yeah.
jump into that.
Your liquid, you use it as fertilizer. When did you start like knowing that the benefits of this? And that's amazing that you can squeeze all that out and use it as fertilizer. It's just, when did
Yeah,
you start?
definitely.
Yeah,
It's just like it's a rabbit hole. It's once I started down organic production, like growing organically. I was like growing organic using like organic uh, bottled fertilizer, organics. And then I
yeah,
started transitioning into like dry amendments and no-till, kind of started piquing my interest. And then I started to get into like the living soil and
like,
like starting like, sampling some of the flower that I met people in the community that were using living soil. And not only did I just like love the idea of it, but like man, just like the flavor is just it's
it's
crazy.
there.
It's like so much more like complex and in depth. I feel like than some of the like some of the synthetic lines. It's like they're really hard and intense, and they drive the plant in a very specific direction, and it's very like intense in those like one or two peaks that it hits. And like when you turn a plant loose in that organic soil, it just does what it wants and expresses naturally. I think it's much more able to hit that complexity that I really enjoy. So yeah, once I started down like enjoying the flower and like I want to fucking grow that. Like I'm like done with my shit. I want to be able to grow that. Started
Yeah,
read started reading books, and then Jeff Lowenfeld's trilogy came out. I read through that, and that changed my whole approach to gardening, like 180 degrees. Like it just like really just like a light switch, like just like that. After I read those books, and like why are we trying to take into our hands what this plant has perfected itself over hundred thousands of years of evolution, and all of a sudden it's like everything man gets involved in. It's like we come in and we want to take it over and like put it
that's
through these tests and then like optimize it in these levels that
Right.
in our opinion are optimized. And it's like
Right.
I really just embrace that. Like you just create this environment that's like cycling nutrients and self-sustaining basically, and then you put a plant in it and just stand back and let the plant knows, like it knows what it wants to do, how, and so it's just much more rewarding. And then started getting into, okay, well now, like, what can I do to kind of further increase just being more conscious of my inputs and be more conscientious of like sourcing stuff and like, oh, do I need to buy this product from out of country, out of state, across the country that's going to be
great.
packaged and shipped and driven and flown or whatever. And like, what can I do to like replace that locally? And then I started in the natural farming
Yeah,
and started out with K and the Korean natural farming, and like I like that because that was the fast. The ferments for Korean natural farming with the osmotic pressure and brown sugar. That's like a 7 to 9 day turnaround. So it's like instant gratification. It was fun, and you feel like
oh yeah,
you got that fucking mad scientist in the lab vibe with all your different ferments going, and you're stirring. So it's cool. It's like you have very hands-on approach to creating and crafting your inputs, and then started like, okay, what can I get locally to make? And I was like, I don't fight with people about this anymore. I try to politely suggest or point it out,
oh
like maybe there's a better idea, but because I was guilty of it, guilty as shit of it when I first started doing Korean natural farming. I'd like go to the grocery store and buy a bunch of fruit and brown sugar from the shelves, and it's like, hold on, like that's antithetical to the Korean natural farming philosophy. Is like they used what they had locally, spoils and stuff, and try to
yeah.
cut down that. So I was like, stop going buying bananas and stopped doing it. And I was like, brown sugar, man, I'm bringing brown sugar from halfway across the world, and it's not super sustainable. So
Right.
Master Cho started Korean natural farm. He didn't start it, I say. He brought it to the Western world and like translated the farming traditions and stuff and like put it in written form and taught it to Westerners basically. So his son, for that same reason of trying to close the circle and make it more like regionally applicable, instead of like Korean natural farming uses a lot of ingredients that you can't find outside the jungle. Or it's like Jaeger and stuff. You can't get sugar. I don't have sugar growing in the backyard in Oregon. So it's like that style of farming evolved there in that region because those were the things they had to work with. So
Right.
like
Right. This-
his
Right.
son moved. I forget where he started, but anyway, so he started Jadam, which is replacing the fermentation process with a putrefaction process. So in KNF, you basically you're draining the insides of all of the cells. You're drawing that to the outside, and it's not actually fermenting. It's like osmotic pressure that you extract the liquids from the solids from, and you filter that out, and that's what your KNF fertilizer solution is. So in Jadam, you actually use putrefaction to it digests all the solids. It like breaks it down to elemental levels. So it's a different process. It takes much longer. So Jadam, say you use a potato for the starch source. So I could, yeah, no, it's in a potato, and that's kind of why I started looking like a potato grows here basically year round. I have planted a whole bunch of them out in the yard and around. So there's like farro potatoes year round. So that's my sugar source. I don't have to buy brown sugar from across the world in a plastic bag I'm throwing away. I've got like my potato here, leaf mold for the bacteria. Basically, you just go find a hot spot someplace under a tree or bush or some log pile. I usually collect from a few different spots to get a nice diverse collection.
That's why you
got a potato
come out of the forest with a bag of it.
Yeah.
I was like, what is
Yeah, you got a potato, got some dirt, and then what you got your lawn trimmings, leftover vegetables, peeling scraps from dinner. So you just take all that together. It doesn't have to be different isolated things, and you can kind of feed it in there continuously once it starts going. So to me that was immediately appealing, because that was like, I don't need to go to the store for any of that. That's all 100% whatever you can use on hand in a potato. And then
what does it do? What does the potatoes do?
It's just
The starch,
a sugar, yeah, just like a food source for the leaf mold. So you put your dirt and stuff you collect in there. It'll have that quick sugar source in the starch, and it'll explode the population, and then that population goes to work on all your organic material that you feed into it. So it's basically just like a booster, like a population booster.
Awesome.
Oh, that's fascinating. That's really cool. You grow so differently. Like, I saw you put your worm bucket in the actual bed.
Yeah, and that's like, and I still will use some of the KNF stuff, and that's why I always tell people, it's like, you don't have to like define yourself or your style of growing by one thing. It's like, take bits and pieces from all the different practices and all the different experiences and advice, and like make it work for you and what you have to work with in your environment and everybody's grow area and room, and everything's so different and unique.
Basically, the more you learn about it, the more it's available to you to use.
100%. Yeah. It's like I'll have some failures still sometimes, and people are like, well, you've been growing for a while and you should be able to do it flawlessly every time. It's like, well, if you're like using whatever brand of bottled fertilizer that has an established like feeding schedule that somebody else came up with and tested, and that's like bulletproof, and it's like very evident that anybody can basically pick that up and have pretty decent successful harvest. Like, just there's tons of people on social media that have only been growing for a year or two, and it's like they're running the Athena Pro line and they have good results and pretty flower. It's like I'm like innovating things that haven't been done and processes that aren't used together and trying to be more sustainable and stuff. So it's like trial and error, and that's like failure is part of it.
And sharing it, definitely sharing it.
And I think
for sure.
It's
now. Do you think that's part of the intimidation for organic growing? The long process of the fermentations and the getting that soil to start working. Because people most likely want that immediate, grow. They want it to work for them now.
Yeah.
Not later.
No, 100%. And it is. It's slower. It grows slower to correct any problems that there are. It's a longer process, like you said. Just upfront, waiting for your initial 6 or 8 weeks. Once you mix your soil, you got to do that, a month and a half or 2 months ahead of time, just to get the soil ready to use. So there's a lot of like forethought, planning ahead, waiting, and then so it's like people definitely like to have that the instant results, instant success. And I can see, in a commercial facility, people are hesitant to do that, or becoming less hesitant now, thankfully, but still they want to be able to have like that absolute control. That their idea of control goes back, all marketing and stuff, but it's like you have to be able to control every aspect of that plant's life in that commercial setting, which people are realizing isn't quite true. But yeah, just the time, and I think people get intimidated with, like, you think you have to know, like, well, I get carried away and I'll start rambling about like soil chemistry and microbiology and
Oh,
stuff. It's like
you
you
can
don't have to.
get soil.
That's like it's a long time, and it's a lot of accumulated experience and book. It's like I didn't just roll over one day and understood how soil works. It's like and you don't necessarily need to have that in-depth understanding of the process to get involved in it and to start down that road. You can
Right.
take some really really basic approaches to, like, either building a soil or getting like bagged soil and just top dressing and dry amendments and kind of ease into it. You don't have to like go full on building your own soil, worms in, worm tower. It can be overwhelming. So I get that clean, bottle A, bottle B, do this, and you're good. So it's taking a lot of the stress off of a new grower that might just be trying to get a plant to grow, not necessarily trying to understand the soil biology and
Right.
chasing problems like that. So it's about the individual and their experience and comfort level with it. But I think like, and I've said this a lot of times, I think if you're like passionate about the plant and you enjoy like the sensual experience, like for me, it's like, okay, cool. If it looks great in the jar, that's awesome. But what else? What else you got? Like it needs that. You got to have that full experience. You got to smell good, taste good, good effect. There's more to it than that. So I think that as you get to that point where you're like not necessarily a connoisseur or a snob, but you start to appreciate
Absolutely.
the subtleties in the flower, I feel like
Absolutely.
people gravitate towards organic flower because like you just hit
That
that point and just the other stuff just doesn't cut it anymore. It's like so
correct.
people, I think it's like a natural evolution. Like if you grow long enough, you're going to end up doing no till organic. That's the evolution of
Yeah.
man growing.
Right.
It's
I
just
just
like that's
yeah, I just find it fascinating how it's all put out for us already, without having to mimic anything. Like it's everything is there for us,
Yeah.
whoever you want to call it, God, whatever you believe in,
It's
the
here
earth and
already.
everything
yeah,
is already there for us. We just have to tune into it. We have to get back out there and then tune into nature and kind of communicate with it. And it's telling us something everywhere we look. You know what I mean? But I think the urgency to have things given to us quickly is
Yeah.
only going to make things worse and dangerous.
definitely.
It's almost mechanical, like you just want results, but you don't care what you're putting in. I can actually taste organic wheat tastes different than bottle grown nutrient wheat. It's the truth. And it's all you can like, I saw, sorry to get off chat. What is a JFL?
For the Jadam, it's a JLF is Jadam liquid fertilizer. So that's basically like anything you do the putrefaction. Like I've got a few different blends, I guess, if you will. So one, and this is actually a nice little segue for people not wanting to go away from their bottles because like on a bottle there's like a clear nutrient content, the NPK label. It's like what's
Yeah.
in it. And like with your ferments and everything, this is like, oh, it's worked for a long time. They've been using it in Korea for thousands of years, just trust me. So there's like a
Yeah.
big gap in the people that like to be like, okay, well, I need to know like how much, what am I putting in it. So I'm actually working with the Oregon State Agricultural Department to get some testing done on a few different blends of the JLF, so we can start getting like actual nutritional value for people, like in basically do just like a cucumber and pumpkin beet blend, and using that as like a baseline. So if you like take 5 pounds of beets, 3 pounds of cucumbers, 6 pounds of watermelon, do a JLF, this is going to be your NPK value and like the micronutrients and stuff in there. So use that like as a template and be like, okay, well, I'm going into flour, so I need some extra calcium. So you throw like double the cucumber amount, so you bump up your calcium and potassium. So it's just a few basic recipes that will give people a jumping off point. That is like, if they're hesitant to approach it because they don't know exactly how much of this or at what stage to feed. Now it's like, well, you get this basic outline, basic blueprint that you can take and again make your own. What do you have there close to you that you can use and supplement for the different things to achieve the same results?
Awesome. So listen, tell me, I stopped by your website, and I noticed that you had you got a no-till class, master class,
Oh, that's crazy.
going
That's
on.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's we're trying to get that up and running here in the next couple of weeks or so. But that's just kind of ties back to the people that are to that point where they're interested in getting into it, but might be feeling overwhelmed. They've been either growing organic bottles or synthetic bottles, and they're ready to try to make the switch. So yeah, basically just putting together soil building all the way through harvest process for building a 4x4 living soil bed just for the class, and then it'll be. I decided to go ahead and do making a living soil. It's like a lot of people are limited to
Oh my
less than
God.
a 4x4. Like obviously most people aren't growing in a 4x8 living soil bed in their tent. So I tried to scale it down to like 27-gallon totes is what it's based off of. So like everything's going to be based off of like a 27-gallon living soil mix, and that's easily scalable. So you got, if you got 400 gallons, you make, multiply the batch that to
Yo,
scale.
shut
So
up, man, master level.
yeah. So
Yeah.
oh, what's up?
Dude, you work it. Oh, go ahead, Mark. I want
Oh
your.
no, I was. I didn't know if he was finished talking.
Oh yeah, no. So yeah, so soil building, and it's basically be scalable. So soil building based around like a 30-gallon living soil fabric container. If you can only do 10 gallons, you build the 30-gallon, you fill 3 10-gallon bags, or you do one 30-gallon bag. And then all the way up to like my 4x8 bed is like 420 gallons or so of soil. So so it's scalable. So it's if you, depending on what size grow area you're able to use, it's easily scalable to your size, and you gotta go through it and like take all the guesswork out of it. I've got like a pretty set soil recipe that I've been working on and perfecting the last couple of years, and trying to make it as approachable for people that are intimidated by it, and like having a guaranteed successful first harvest and not having to have the learning pains that I had to go through over the years.
Awesome. Yeah. So speaking of grandmaster level, man, I was wondering, man, tell me about the grant. I noticed that you're using some of those lights, and how's that working out for you?
Yeah, those are the only lights I have now for my veg room and the flower room. Got a few different models, and they're all really they're the best LED brand I've used, hands down. I've only been got rid of my last HPS like 3 years ago, so still relatively new to LEDs. I guess it's been a few different models, and I when I first started with LEDs, went to like chilled Growcraft. I had the Spider Farmers, a few of the cheaper brands, another one of the middle of the road brands, and another. But yeah, it's just like the quality, the plant response is it's a no brainer. I highly recommend anybody always asks if they're looking for a lamp. He's got something to fit your size and budget for sure. They do it right, and then all the way up. What's that?
He makes the lights.
Yeah. Thomas just popped in here, Grandmaster, but he actually designs and manufactures all of those lamps are like from his brain. It's not white labeled stuff. So he's been doing it a long time and done a lot of trials and a lot of redesigns, and he's got it figured out. And you see the micro tests that he did, Shane did here recently, and he just set a bunch of records, and the Borg. So the tarantula Borg is what I have over my 4x8 bed. I have 2 of those right now, and they're the 4-channel adjustable and tunable spectrum. So you can basically, with the controller, like say I'm growing landrace from like northern India, I could mimic that spectrum from that latitude all the way down to like if I was running like a Panama red or something, you could run like tweak it to an equatorial spectrum so it mimics the sun spectrum for particular latitudes or places around the world. So if you're like really trying to dial something in or grow a landrace in its
Yeah,
like
I was
natural
just
environment,
about to say that. You see, sounds like dialing right in.
it,
You know.
it is wild. And then it's like not only that, it's like the warm white channel at 100% is like the exact color temperature of a 1,000 watt HPS bulb. And I didn't realize that this lamp is the first one that's done that.
Yeah.
But like all the years we've been hearing like an HPS 1-to-1 replacement, it's like there's never actually been a 1-to-1 replacement light because there's never been that same color temperature. It's like it's like a light bulb. It's like, well, yeah, that makes sense. And
Oh,
so
awesome.
it's like I have the door closed and it's like the warm white channel, the HPS color cranked up, and it's like outside the door, it's that exact same color. The double-ended HPS bulbs look like you would think you're walking into an HPS room, and just the ability to add the blues and reds at
Oh,
different
that's
ratios,
awesome.
even for
That's
Shout
also
out to Grandmaster, man. I'm
bet
glad
you
you
the
yeah.
other light.
mentioned qualities, man, because you know we're looking into do upgrading, and my
Lights are
girl's listening. She hears it. Thank you for describing all of the, you know, the benefits of those
Oh
lights. You know, because
yeah,
it
definitely.
does make a difference when you're able to upgrade. You know.
Yeah, and then even like when I'm gonna try this next run, I played with it a little bit last time, but I didn't. Just got the new controller soon, but like it's mimicking the spectral shift even throughout the day, not only throughout like spring and fall, but the first few hours of the day have a more blue spectrum light, and then it becomes more red dominant in the afternoon peaks, and then it's like you get that blue light dominant sunset. So even the spectral shifts throughout the day, and then shifting more throughout the entire 8-week cycle. So it's crazy how in depth and how controlled you can get the lighting frequency, intensity, spectrum. It's really cool to
It's
play with.
impressive. Other lights are
Well, coming
Hey,
from like
do that, right? I haven't heard other lights being able to mimic light in certain altitudes. That's deeper than just dialing in, man. That's impressive.
yeah, and
yeah,
then
that's
That's
like
impressive.
yeah, and then like going back to HPS and metal halide bulbs is like on and off. And now it's like, well,
Yeah,
yeah, what latitude would you like to mimic the spectrum of today? It's like, oh, it's so
that's
fun, yeah,
crazy.
you
yeah,
brought. Listen, you brought something to all my attention, and obviously you brought something to Tone's attention that we probably never thought we had to dial in. Altitude. You know what I mean, and
That's
things
fantastic.
things like that. That's awesome. Hey, I know. Look, we don't have much time, so we got a few more
No,
questions.
go
We right? Am I right, Tom? But anyways, being the 2021 Auto Cup, excuse me, Auto Flower Cup, right?
yep.
Am I right?
I think it's
And you
21, yep.
and now, so that's 2021, I believe, right?
I think so.
Um,
Oh yeah, 21.
yeah, and then I see you got a little kit ready, a ready kit for people who having a hard time growing autoflowers. I
Yeah,
said, check that out. And I mean, how much
yeah.
easier can are you trying to make it for people at home just trying to grow?
yeah, no, totally mindless. Like you put the seed in the dirt and add water, and it's like guaranteed success. I've been working with Forest Floor for a lot of years. I actually met them up at the farm. I bought 27 yards of compost is how I met them. They brought a dump trailer full of compost up to the farm, and been really super tight with them. They're great people down there, and they helped me get the kit together. So the soil is like I know I've run autos in it, water only to harvest, and it's what I use as my base soil for my living soil bed. And yeah, hopefully it'll be available here soon. We're trying to figure out the details of the embroidery. The stitching, the patches on the bag was like I was kind of threw a fit about having that on there, so we're gonna have to figure out how to make it work now.
Right, right.
I'd say
Yeah,
it looks clean. It looks so clean. I got a plant. I opened the box and planted it immediately. I was thinking about keeping it clean and hanging on to it for like nostalgia. I was like, man, it's a grow
You
bag.
like
It's gotta grow. That's its mission.
for sure, for
you
sure,
like
for sure.
you like your fabric pots from grassroots, huh?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much fully convert. Well, so like starter seeds, early veg, I'll do uh, plastic nursery pots. But like once it gets to its final home, it's definitely 100% a fabric pot. So I don't know if you saw the video I did of the root ball, where you can see how I do the wedding cake
Yeah.
transplanting. So it always steps down. And I feel like
Hmm.
I can't get that in fabric pots when they're young. So I like to have that hard walled black pot where it really forces the roots to make
Yeah.
perpendicular
But when
dive
you
down.
saying from when you transplanted it, right? You're
Yeah,
saying you could,
Wow.
yeah.
right?
Basically, yeah. You can see like the 3 inch square at the
Yep.
top, and
I
then it'll
seen
step
that.
down like 2 inches to the
Yep.
1 gallon. It's like a hard step, and I
Yep.
like to
Yep.
expose those buttress those roots up top
Yep.
because I've had issues before with stem rot and losing some plants due
Uh,
to
from the oh, I got you from the dirt being too high up on the.
exactly going the opposite way. So if you bury the stalk lower and lower every transplant, like chances are it's going to root before it rots. But if there's any kind of issue with the plant and it's like sitting with that wet, uh, continuously wet soil around its stalk, you're gonna run into pest issues,
Oh,
just a potential issues that I found
Got you.
going the opposite way and stepping it down, exposing those roots, dries everything off, hardens everything off really nice, and I don't have those issues anymore.
Oh, that's good to know.
you know what I found fascinating about you when you your pest management, you're like, we're not trying to get all the insects out of here. It's okay to have some insects in your doing your thing. I thought that was just magnificent because everyone's like they're very like about bugs, but what there are some bugs that can't help,
Oh,
and
100%.
you realize that, and that was just there's so much stuff that you've said that I've never heard said, and I know it's true.
Okay.
It's absolutely amazing what you do. Absolutely
No,
amazing.
yeah,
What is
especially
up?
especially the bugs. Yeah, IPM. I'm like a stickler for IPM for sure. It's a huge it's overlooked until there's a problem and people are panicking to fix the problem. But once you start preventative stuff, you'll never go back. But uh, yeah, definitely the bug and the things like just fungus gnats, for instance. Okay, it's like
Yeah, yeah.
it's called a fungus gnat. So what do you it eats fungus. It only becomes an issue if it runs out of fungus to eat and it starts to eat your roots. So in 32 square feet of living soil surface of the bed, I don't care if there's a few dozen fungus gnats in there. They're not
Sure.
touching the plants. Like they're eating
Right.
like fungus. Like
Right.
there's decaying matter in there that those
Right.
bugs are
Right.
feeding
That's
on. It's
yeah.
not hard. It's not damaging the plant. So I think there's definitely a balance in it. Like approach IPM, the idea of like competitive exclusion.
Maybe the synthetic growers are having an issue with the fungus gnats getting on the plant
There you go, and that's all
because
there is.
they don't want to be in that soil.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and that's a huge problem. Like fungus gnats for a hydro grower, so they got a block of rock wool. There's nothing for that fungus gnat to eat except for the fungus that's on the root, and that's where the plant starts getting the damage. It's like a hydro grower with fungus gnats is going to have a much different plant response than like a soil grower
Oh,
with fungus
really?
gnats. It's a straight well like a rock wool cube is just exposed roots. So that's like a
But
direct that's
yeah,
there's no
the
mulch, there's
Rockwell
no
cube
fungus.
that can't be recycled.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
that's the
okay.
one. That's the one.
That's pretty awesome. You said there was a potato that was almost non-existent. Why? It
Oh,
was, uh,
potato.
yeah, it was
Oh,
a kind of potato that's almost non-existent.
oh, you have to remind me
Uh,
what I was talking
what
about on
was
that
it?
one.
What was it? What was it? Hold on. It's the gold potatoes.
Oh,
The
so yeah,
Yukon. Yukon.
yeah, they stopped growing the Yukon Golds just because they weren't. They started becoming less profitable, and so they just basically let it go, and it just like almost became extinct because it wasn't profitable anymore. Just like
Oh,
there's so many thousands of species of apples that are no longer around because they stopped being. They were like popular for a few years, and then it was too expensive to propagate and keep them around. And it was the same thing with the Yukon Gold
you just let them
and
go.
the Yukon Gold. Yeah, that was the one that's basically you can't find it anymore. It exists in some small held circles, but it's not commercially available anymore. And yeah, I just thought it was cool to she's actually, and she'll have to forgive me if she sees this, but I don't know her name. I haven't got to meet her yet, but she's a school teacher just south of me, about 30 miles, and she's actually the one that bred the cosmic gold potato that I have here at the house. And like I said, it grows feral. It's like it withstands the cold and the wet rains and the coast, and it's like does great. And
Awesome.
it's one of those things. I think potatoes are so versatile. It's not like human food. You make alcohol with it.
Yeah,
It's a very versatile plant, and the greens from it can be used as well. So I think it's one of those things that people should throw a few potato seeds out in the yard and let them go.
absolutely. I love potatoes. You got to keep them around. Don't let them go extinct.
No,
You know,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
get a seed
Right,
bank or
right.
something. What is Chilium? Chilium?
Uh,
Chillium?
Chillum, my pipe. I don't know.
Chilium.
Chillium.
No, it's that. It's Chillium. And that's what you. It's like, what is it? I read something about. You may not remember, but I read something that I have no idea what that word is.
It's not ringing a bell for me either. Chillium.
Sorry.
No,
It's okay.
did I say it somewhere? Did I?
Well, you in one of your videos, you were just breaking it down. You were really talking and going into depth with it on there. You
What
might not remember
Oh,
everything,
maybe
bro.
what
Simon,
video?
you
Yeah,
mean
what video
Sicilium?
was
You
it?
mean?
Oh, the
I
mycelium.
might have wrote it down.
The mycelium view is like the fungal
Mycelium.
network.
Mycelium.
That's like what the mushrooms fruit from. So that's like what exists below the surface,
Right.
and that's like it's like a
Oh,
connective tissue in the body. So it's like that nervous system in the soil for sure.
Right.
And
So,
that's like part of the no-till thing is like why you don't till and so you don't disturb that network, and it can become more complex. And it's
mhm.
like that. I don't know if you follow like Paul Stamets, but he's
I will.
so super intelligent guy, and he's always uh, he's discovered so many species of mushrooms. He's a Pacific Northwest, but he's a very big advocate for medicinal use of not just like psychedelic mushrooms, but like all different types of mushrooms have like these huge medicinal properties. But he's like proposed and studied and like is on the forefront of like mapping these fungal networks that basically extend like hundreds of miles, and trees are able to like communicate like drought stress uh, response hundreds of miles away to other trees to like communicate water levels and stuff in the soil. So it's really crazy. Like the largest organism is like the fungal network
Yeah.
in the West Coast. So the idea of the plants being able to even rudimentary ideas or concepts of like drought or stress coming, like send it over fiber optic cables hundreds of
Yeah.
miles away to another tree. It's crazy. It's insane.
It's amazing. It's amazing to think
it
about
is.
that. Under the ground,
Same.
dude. It's almost like
The
the Avatar tree. Like it's like
100%.
connected to everything.
That is 100% accurate. I think, and that's kind of like what he's proving to be like a reality. It's like maybe not quite that level of sentience, but it's like plants are aware. They're able
And
to
they're alive.
communicate those. Yeah,
They're alive.
it's wild.
Yeah.
What was
Go ahead, Tom. What you got for him?
your soil? Like, what was the soil quality like that? I know I was looking at it and it was quite bare. You put everything into the soil and make it fertile. That's amazing because it's almost like bare dirt when you get it.
Yeah,
You
yeah. So you got to get the organic matter in there and the microbiology to start processing that organic matter. And then once it like gets to a tipping point, it's becomes self-sustaining, and it's just a never-ending cycle. So, and that's like what I love about it too. It's like once you get it to the point where that microbiology is cycling those nutrients, and the plant is able to basically communicate what it needs through the root exudates to the microbiology, and it initiates these series of chemical reactions that gets it what it needs when it needs it. And it's like you don't have to follow that feeding chart anymore, because the plant, that's what it does in nature. And that's another interesting thing about like senescence and the fade in a living soil bed. It's like I don't flush, I don't flush the bed, but I still always get a fade, and that's just because the plant knows it's reached its end of its life cycle, and all of those nutrients are still present. It's not like I said, I didn't remove anything. All those nutrients are still there in the soil, but the plant chooses to stop uptaking them because it's at the end of its life. It
Right.
doesn't need me. It doesn't need
So
me
dope.
starving it and pouring out.
Right.
And another thing I just want to talk about, just the variety is so, like in a room, or somebody's got like a commercial production and they got a bunch of rooms with a bunch of trays, and they have to have tables with the same plants on them, like monocrops, because they're mixing like 600 gallons of nutrient solution, so it can't cater to each individual plant's particular needs. If you got like a heavy feeder, you got to like keep that on a separate feeding schedule, separate building, or whatever, have that brought up. Like this last run, I had 8 different plants from seed in the 4x8 bed, all as different as you can be, and they all were fine, because they're dictating what they want when they want it individually in that soil, instead of me feeding them all the same thing at the same time. Some of them getting burnt, some of them being hungry. It's like they were all fine, they were all healthy, because they were doing it on their own schedule. They were in charge of their.
I always thought you couldn't grow. For a long time, I thought you couldn't grow different strains in the same bed of something, but that's not true.
No, yeah, I have never run it. No, that's not true. Two cycles ago, I did that GMO cookies monocrop, and I had 8 different cuttings of the same plant in that 4x8 bed. But other than that time, it's always been all different stuff. Like even look back, I think it was probably the beginning of last year when I had auto flowers on one end and photo periods on the other end of the bed, and ran them all together. And so it's and the idea that like the plants are competing, or the root mass is going to get entangled. I hear that a lot for multiple plants in the bed, but that's another one of those kind of over feared things.
Yeah, a lot of fear when they're growing cannabis.
Thinking about getting one of those beds. You know what I mean? Those huge
They're dope.
time all.
Their time in the South. 26, 24.
Oh,
It was so dope talking to you, man. We're gonna
man, happy belated birthday, man. You know what I mean? And
thank you.
Appreciate your 20 years experience on the show, man. For real. Hopefully we could get you back on.
Definitely.
So
Yeah, definitely. We just got
me a lot.
started.
You talk